Hey everybody, it's Eric, your friendly sports nut, and this is Sports Nut News. On today's show, I'd like to talk to you guys about the NHL. Now, the NHL had two marquee events on television last week. The first event was Wednesday afternoon. They announced the 2020 class of the Hockey Hall of Fame. Now, this announcement came with a lot of skepticism about who should be in, who shouldn't be in, who's eligible in what year, and so on. Now, I won't get into that because I could do a whole video for like a good hour talking about which players are in that shouldn't be, which players that aren't in should be, and so on. So, getting back to this year's class, you have Jarome Iginla, formerly the captain of the Calgary Flames. You have Marian Hossa, formerly of the Ottawa Senators, but also won 3 Stanley Cups with the Chicago Blackhawks. You have Doug Wilson, and you have Kevin Lowe. Now, those two players, Kevin Lowe has been waiting 20 years for the call. Doug Wilson, 25 years. Like, that's a long time to wait, knowing that, am I going to get in or am I not? Like, this just one of those things where it's unimaginable to have to wait 20 or 25 years for a phone call to say, hey, guess what? You're getting into the Hockey Hall of Fame. Like, that's insane. Now, I mean, there are players that people think should be in already, like Alex McGillney and Daniel Alfredson and Curtis Joseph and Theo Fleury that are in, like, their years are counting up, but nowhere near the 20 or 25 years of Kevin Lowe and Doug Wilson. Now, in the women's category, they allowed Kim St. Pierre. Kim St. Pierre was she's a legend. She won multiple Olympic golds with Team Canada at the Olympics. She won multiple golds at the World Championships. Like, she was the premier women's goaltender, and she deserves this call. Like, she is paving the way for future women's goaltenders to make it into the Hockey Hall of Fame with credentials like hers. I mean, it's absolutely insane. Now, in the builders category, this one, I was hoping for Brian Murray. He obviously passed away a few years back due to cancer, but he built some really good teams in Detroit, in Washington, in Anaheim, including the Anaheim team that ended up beating his Ottawa Senators in the 2007 Stanley Cup Finals. No, I'm not still bitter about that. Yeah, right. Anyways, they didn't choose him in the builders category this year. Hopefully it will be next year. This year, they chose Ken Holland. Ken Holland is the current GM of the Edmonton Oilers, but he's best known as the dynasty maker, basically. The guy who created the Detroit Red Wings that became such a dynasty. I mean, they went something like 25 years in a row making the playoffs. They won multiple Stanley Cups in that time. I mean, they had superstars from Yzerman to Fedorov to Lidstrom to, like, it's insane the players that he drafted or traded for. Hasek was there. Like, it's absolutely insane. I mean, he deserves this. He built literally the biggest dynasty in the NHL for the longest time. 25 years in a row making the playoffs is something that's unimaginable. And I don't think anyone will ever see that happen again. But, I mean, who knows? Now, let's get to Friday night. Friday night was the NHL Draft Lottery, Phase 1. This was interesting, to say the least. There was the option, or the opportunity, for a placeholder team lettered A through H to win the draft lottery or win multiple spots in those draft lotteries. They were doing 3 lotteries, one for 3rd overall, one for 2nd overall, and one for 1st overall. Now, the placeholder teams are any of the 8 teams that lose out in the first round play-in round before the playoffs start in the NHL Restart program. Yeah, it was suspenseful when Bill Daly walks out and says, we have a placeholder team that has won one of the 3 lotteries, so I only have 8 cards to call out. So he started off, number 8 was Buffalo, number 7 was New Jersey, number 6 was Anaheim. The Ottawa Senators pick, which technically had the second best odds, dropped all the way down to 5th, which unfortunate, but hey, I mean, a top 5 pick can't snuff at that. Like that's huge for any draft, let alone this year. Then they go to the 4th overall pick and they go, the Detroit Red Wings. They dropped from first odds, like the best odds, to 4th overall. And that's when I automatically knew, crap, somebody from a placeholder is going to win the first overall pick this year. Sure enough, number 3, Ottawa Senators, because of the San Jose pick. Now, that one kind of is weird because it stuck exactly where it was. It had the 3rd best odds. It won number 3. So kind of a bonus in regards to the Erik Karlsson trade to have that 3rd best odds and the 3rd pick. And then the 2nd pick obviously moved up a couple spots, was the LA Kings into 2nd. And then the 1st place, yes, unfortunately, it is a placeholder. It was technically placeholder E. That's specific placeholder spot had a 2.5% chance of winning the draft lottery. Like, that's insane. They had almost 2.5% chance, where Ottawa had 11.5 and 13.5. Detroit had an 18.5% chance. That's insane for them to jump up that high. I mean, but you know what? It is what it is. I mean, I was pissed when I watched the draft lottery and I heard that a placeholder team was getting the first overall pick. But you know what? I've calmed down. I've thought about it. I've looked at it. And if you look at it and you go, okay, but I mean, how could a team that's going to be in this play-in round make it to first overall pick? This doesn't make sense. It's technically, yes, it does, because those 8 picks from A through H would have been a non-playoff team anyways, and these play-in round losers are non-playoff teams. It's not the playoffs. They're not a playoff team that has a chance to win it. It's a play-in round. They lose that round in the best of 5 series, and then they get the first overall pick in that secondary draft. So, I mean, it is what it is. A lot of people are super pissed about it. I was initially, but you know what? I mean, I've calmed down. I thought about it a lot, and I've looked at the different stats, and I'm like, you know what? It was bound to happen. 2020, what else could go wrong, right? This is the biggest, shit show of a year, pardon my language, but, I mean, if anything was going to happen really weird in regards to the NHL draft or draft lottery, it was going to be this year, because, I mean, this year is something unprecedented that nobody expected. So, going back to the draft lottery, I mean, the placeholder teams, it'll be the losers of any of the 8, playoff round, or play-in rounds, I should say. So, I mean, you could have a team like the Chicago Blackhawks, the Montreal Canadiens, the Pittsburgh Penguins, heaven forbid the Edmonton Oilers lose in that play-in round and get another first overall pick. But you could also have teams like Minnesota and Nashville and Columbus, or even the Leafs. Please, dear God, don't let it be the Leafs. I mean, I don't expect them to lose to Columbus, but they have lost in the first round of every playoffs that they've been in recently, so who knows? But that was Boston and Washington. So, I mean, I personally think the play-in round thing is a touchy subject, but you know what? If they don't have the play-in round, they don't have an NHL restart, there is a list of teams that will be eligible, and that'll be Montreal, Chicago, Arizona, Minnesota, Winnipeg, the Rangers, Florida, and Columbus. Because those 8 teams are the teams that had the lowest win percentage out of the NHL. So they basically go by the amount of wins in the amount of games played, because not everybody played the exact same amount of games when the pause happened in March. So personally, you know what? I mean, if they do the restart and heaven forbid my Winnipeg Jets lose to the Calgary Flames, that's something to look forward to, them possibly getting Alexis Lafreniere to add to the lineup with Wheeler and Scheifele and Ehlers. That will be a godsend if that happens. if the NHL doesn't restart, the Jets still have a chance because they are technically out of the playoffs based on their win percentage. So, I mean, that's something to look forward to. I'm hoping that the NHL restarts with a lot of current and recent positive tests of COVID-19 from players that are in phase 2 or even players that weren't in the phase 2 practicing, etc. yet. It's scary to think that any of these players will be getting together in a large group at hotels in these hub cities anytime soon. But stranger things have happened. We'll see what happens, and I just hope for the best. I want to see a Stanley Cup champion announced. Hopefully, it'll be the Winnipeg Jets or a team that definitely deserves it. I mean, anybody can win it this year, I think, because there's been such a long pause that some teams that were on a hot streak will get super rusty. Some teams that were crazy riddled with injuries have all their guys healthy again. I mean, there's just so much that can go into this specific draft or playing round in the playoffs that could cause an insane amount of really awesome games to happen. Now, as of right now, they're talking that the training camps won't start till at least July 10th, I believe. And then after that, they'd have to go to the hub cities, which they have yet to announce. It's looking more and more like it's probably going to be like Vegas and Edmonton. Toronto's still in the mix, so is Chicago and LA. So we'll see. We'll see which team they announce. Hopefully, they announce it by the end of this week. It may be even next week. We'll see. But anyways, guys, I'm going to wrap this up. I just wanted to let you guys know kind of my feelings about the NHL Draft Lottery. I personally hope that the Sens do the right thing. I mean, depending on who gets picked second overall by the Kings, we could get a big, heavy forward, like a big, heavy center, top first overall center, like first line center, guaranteed first line center in Quentin Byfield. Like, that kid is a beast. He's over 6 feet, 200 and something pounds. Like, that we need a center like that to crash the net. Like, come on. And then with the second pick, our 5th overall, like, we could have a guy like Jamie Drysdale if we wanted to shore up our defense, or we could even pick a guy like Marco Rossi if we don't get that center with Byfield and we go with Stützle in the third pick. So, I mean, there's a large number of players and that could possibly be on our team once this draft happens. And then obviously, I mean, the other thing to look at, guys, is Ottawa also owns the New York Islanders pick in that first round. So if the Islanders lose in the first play-in round and don't win that draft lottery, we will get another pick in the top 10 to 15. Like, that's insane to have 3 possible picks in the top 10 or even the top 15 of any draft. I mean, this is going to be really exciting for the Ottawa Senators, for their franchise, for the history of for the future of their franchise. I mean, not only do they have those 3 picks, but they have 4 picks in the second round. Like, this year they are full of draft picks. Like, this is going to be exciting. I cannot wait. Now, the question is, when is the draft going to happen? If they do a restart, it probably won't be till sometime in October. The phase 2 of the draft lottery will happen after that play-in round, sometime in August, I would assume. So, I mean, lots to look forward to. I'll keep you guys updated on the NHL. But anyways, if you like this video, hit like. If you really like it, subscribe. And please share with all your friends. Leave a comment in the comment box below and let me know what you guys think. Anyways, go Sens go. When the playoffs start, go Jets go. Let's get this thing rolling, and let's hope that everyone stays safe, gets healthy, and they can get back to hockey. Cheers, guys.